of regional radio are not eligible to participate or win any contest.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Our guest in studio today is Mary Garrison with Heritage Behavioral Health. Mary, good to see you again. How are you?
Great to see you, Seth. Thank you. We're doing really well.
Good. I've got your mic as short there. Let's see. Let's do that. Let's try that now.
All right. I'm doing well.
There you go. Great. Awesome. And Sharon Mills with the DeWiit County 708 board. Good to see you again, Sharon. How are you?
Doing well.
Thanks. Good to hear. Thanks for coming out, ladies, and talking with us. And Sharon, last time you and I caught up, we were talking community needs assessment.
Yes.
That process has partially wrapped up. The obviously community outreach piece is in the books. Let's remind folks, what is this community needs assessment? Why do we do it? What's it all about? How about some of those things?
Well, the DeWitt County Community Mental Health Board is required to produce an assessment every 3 years to support our strategic planning for the county and the services and programs that are needed for residents with mental illness, substance use disorder, and or intellectual and developmental disabilities. So this year we teamed up with Heritage, who also had a requirement to do an assessment for a project that they're working on, which Mary can elaborate on.
Sure. What's Heritage working on, Mary?
So we are
Oh gosh, your mic is bad again here. Let's just get this mic out. There we go. Try that now.
we are
No,
expanding.
still not. Sorry, folks. This is not great radio. Try it now, Mary.
Is that better?
That is better.
All right.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So Heritage has been providing services of mental health and substance use in DeWitt since 2017. In this year, throughout this year, starting in January, we are going to be moving to what's called a certified community behavioral health care clinic,
Okay.
which means we will expand more services beyond mental health and substance use, and will include primary care and really moving into the rural areas. And so because we're moving into this new model, again, we partnered with Sharon and her team to really dive in and get to know what DeWitt County needs and hear from the community.
All right, sure. So what did that process look like, Sharon? How did you go about, distributing the assessment, getting people to participate? How about those things?
Well, there were several things we did for this particular assessment. We had a community survey that was online as well as distributed through our social networks and through the libraries in DeWitt County. There was a professional survey, so individuals could potentially respond from multiple perspectives and take both surveys. Professional survey, and then we also did focus groups and key informant interviews with who we thought were some key populations that we wanted to speak to and get input from.
Sure. Gotcha. So with that portion of the process wrapped up, do we know, like Mary, you were talking about, we wanted to know what the community needs. Obviously, that's part of the name, right? So did we find things out through this process?
We did very much. I think we have a really good sense, especially the 708 board knows and the DeWitt community knows what they need, but we were very validated in what the needs are. So I don't think there were surprises, and that's a good thing because then we were focusing on the right things. So we did see that there's a need for expanding care coordination in DeWitt County. Things get really complex when you're talking about mental health and substance use and what our communities are facing. And so really coordinating that care, especially because of the rural nature of DeWitt County.
Sure. What were some of the things the county that you found needed, and what is, how does that align with what Heritage is doing, Mary?
It's interesting that the most common need identified in the community survey was access to mental health services.
Okay.
Almost 50% of respondents said that. So we can say we're here and we're providing services, but we need to make sure access to care is accessible for folks.
Sure.
To get to folks where they are or how we get them into us. And so just because we build it doesn't mean folks can access it. So that's a really important piece. Definitely. And I know transportation is often a barrier for that as well.
Yeah, sure. Sharon, any other findings out of this assessment?
Well, I want to say there are lots of findings and recommendations. So I would encourage anyone that has an interest in this to get a copy of the assessment.
Okay.
It is at both Heritage's website
Mhm.
under their resources tab, as well as on the DeWitt County Mental Health Board website.
Okay.
Really, the assessment followed three themes, I guess.
Okay.
And that was generally community needs, barriers to treatment, as well as specific service needs in the community. There are certain sections in there as well that specifically talk about youth. There's a section that focuses on needs of veterans in the community. Of course, stigma is always raised as a barrier to treatment, as people may be reluctant or hesitant to seek services for a multitude of reasons.
Sure.
One of those reasons, though, Mary, if you'll recall, was people perceiving a cost barrier. And it's important to know that individuals can get services from Heritage at a low cost or on a sliding fee scale. They will also help to get people hooked up with insurance. So, I think that was a little bit of a surprise in the sense of knowing that perception's out there, but really people don't have to feel like they can't get services because of cost here in DeWitt County at Heritage.
And we need to continue to make sure we talk about that. You can come in our door and have no financial resources and you will be seen. And we, again, will work with you to one, not only for us, but for other providers so that you can get potentially the insurance or get onto Medicaid or Medicare. So we are there to do that, wrap ourselves around individuals who come in our door.
No question.
So,
yeah. And
absolutely.
You guys kind of beat me to the punch on that one, because that's what I was thinking next is like, I bet one of the biggest stigmas or just kind of thoughts out there is like, yes, Heritage is here, but my insurance won't cover that, or therapy and counseling is very expensive and I just can't afford it, so I'm just not going to go type of stigmas for sure.
And that's what makes a community mental health center unique to other providers who provide counseling, and now a certified behavioral health care clinic. The payment model is different, which allows us to say, come in our doors. We'll take care of that. We're worried about what you're worried about and your concerns. And we can do that with taking the stress away related to the financial concerns.
That's Mary Garrison. She is with Heritage Behavioral Health, our guest in studio, with Sharon Mills with the DeWitt County 708 board as we talk the community needs assessment and what is next with that assessment. So with the, how do you message that? Like that being one of the lessons or one of the things that you took away from this assessment, how do you then message that care is affordable, it is accessible, we are here? How do you message those things?
I think that means we need to continue to be out in the community and build relationships. The more we talk about this, now that we've spoken to you, right, you'll speak to your family and friends about it. But we have to remember, especially as providers, that we know it and we think about it all the time, but not everybody is. So let's just keep repeating that, getting out and doing presentations, understanding what services are offered and how we collaborate with other entities in the community as well.
Sure.
Because we can't do it alone.
Any other thoughts on that, Sharon?
Well, I think the outreach is going to be key. I mean, certainly communication campaign or messaging can be put out there, but making sure that this message goes out throughout DeWitt County. Something that else I wanted to point out, and it's a statistic that's raised in the report, overall, I think through 2025, the population of DeWitt County has decreased, I think by 7 or 8%, but the population decreased overall by that amount. But the population in our outlying communities or the most rural or remote, especially from Clinton, has actually grown. So it's even more important for those outlying communities to know what resources are available. And we found certainly working with the libraries has been tremendous, because especially in Weldon or Waynesville, even in Farmers City, those libraries become significant hubs for information and resources in our communities. So that was one of the groups we talked to with a focus group, was through the Village of Weldon and the Weldon Public Library. And we're going to want to continue to develop that relationship and ensure that there is information and resources that they can provide to community members seeking information.
Yeah, yeah. We've talked a lot about, kind of the mental wellness and those sorts of things. But what about just general health care? Does that come into play in any of these questions or things like that?
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
one of the things about this new model of care, adding primary care onto that, is that we're serving the whole person. And so we actually are in a healthcare desert right here in central Illinois. And so that's why we're trying to expand to say, come in for all of those things, mental health, substance use, and primary care, 1 or 2, because we know it's all connected together. And so figuring out how to address those needs and connect people with those providers in the hospital,
Sure.
with Warner Hospital, other primary care folks is tremendously important.
Sure. Did I miss anything in the actual assessment and the data itself, ladies, that you want to put out there before we go to break this morning?
I think one of the things we just want to make sure we talk about too is about virtual services and telehealth
Okay.
services, and maybe we can chat more after the break about that.
That sounds good. Let's do that. Very good. Well, again, our guest in studio today, Mary Garrison with Heritage Behavioral Health, our guest in studio, along with Sharon Mills, the DeWitt County 708 board. And we'll talk more with them coming up on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Just for more information.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn and beans moving higher. Wheat also higher at this hour. May corn up 1/4, 451.5. July corn up 1/4, 460 3/4. December new crop 480.5, up 2.5. May beans up 1 3/4, 1168 3/4. July beans up 1 3/4, 1185. New crop November 1159.5, up a nickel. May Chicago wheat 607 3/4, up 14. May KC wheat is up 24, 649.5. May bean meal 332.90, down $1.50. May bean oil up $1.51, 69.11. Livestock trade, April feeders 372.62, down 87 cents. April live cattle down to $1.62, 250.97. May lean hogs 93.82, down 1/4. Energy market, June Brent crude oil up 311, 98.04.
This is Seth Lawrence, News and Program Director for WHOW and WEZC. We take pride in being Clinton and Central Illinois' local radio stations each and every day, 7 days a week. What does local news mean? Here's a sample.
This year, we had 18 grants submitted, and we supported those with $14,402.
I received a call from a local realtor who has confirmed that there's some Clinton residents that have moved out of the town because of the housing crisis.
We're looking at 15 to 17,500 in grants this cycle. And again, those go to small business. They're small business grants.
You hear the local people that make the news every day, 7 days a week on the big 1520 AM, 92.3 FM, and 106.5 FM WHOW, and on your easy choice for soft hits, 95.9 FM WEZC.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, Mary Garrison with Heritage Behavioral Health and Sharon Mills with the DeWitt County 708 board. Our guests in studio today. We went over, ladies, in that first segment, what came out of the community needs assessment. We now know the data. We know, a general direction we need to go. What's next?
I think one of the important areas that we need to highlight is the use of virtual or telehealth. So something that really came out of COVID, I think, for everyone is the accessibility to try to get with their providers. Heritage has continued to expand that quite a lot. One of the challenges, and so it's helped with transportation. If people don't have the ability to get themselves in, we can set up to work virtually with them. But there's also barriers in terms of not everybody has the connectivity that needs to happen in a rural area. And do they have the devices that they need? And so Heritage is really invested in that, and we'll be bringing more of that to DeWitt County in the rural areas through what's called our My Care program.
Okay.
Which is actually an iPad that our individuals we serve can have,
Mhm.
and they can connect to a therapist, a case manager on that iPad, of course, to our crisis line. So get that immediate response,
Mhm.
and then figure out what services someone might need. So someone could have all telehealth services. They could have hybrid, come into the office, sometimes do it there, whatever it's going to look like. But again, it's that access to care that we're trying to expand upon. And again, our new model of care allows us to do that as we move forward.
Sure. Sharon, what comes to mind for you on where maybe the 708 board goes with this data? What's next for you all?
We'll be starting our strategic planning to determine what aspects of this report are important for the 708 board specifically to address or make part of our plans for the next 3 years.
Okay. Gotcha. Now I know, Mary, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, as Sharon talks about the strategic plan that they're driving at the 708 board, we're doing that as well. But this is a document. This is a living document. So we are not just setting this on a shelf. This will drive what we do over the next 3 years. And again, as Sharon talked about, it's for the community. So we asked for the feedback. It needs to drive the services that we're going to offer. And so it's going to be very much with us all the time.
Yeah, Sharon, you made a good point in the break that this, like Mary said, it's for the community. And your hope is that organizations, entities will look at this and allow it to help them make decisions, correct?
Correct. There are lots of information in here that could be valuable for many health and human service organizations here in DeWitt County or that serve DeWitt County, as well as our townships and local governments to be looking at this information and seeing, where we might play a role.
Yeah. You mentioned the strategic planning piece for the 708 board. Is that underway? When does that begin?
Well, we've really started the process with just reviewing the report itself. So we'll be scheduling a meeting or retreat, something to dive in together as a group to determine what that looks like.
Okay.
We will be having some community presentations of this assessment. So getting it out in the community that way and having some in-person conversations. The first one will be actually given by TriWest, which was the external consultant that worked with us to develop the assessment.
Okay.
That's going to take place on May 5th. 12:30 p.m. at the Warner Library Revere Room in Clinton. We're starting at 12:30. It's going to go as long as 2:30 so that we've got time for some questions and discussion. We're inviting anyone who wants to come, bring your lunch. We're going to provide some desserts and some drinks. So if people can come for an hour and then need to leave, that's fine. People don't have to stay for the full time. But we want to make that available really to anyone that would like to participate in that meeting. And then again, we'll be scheduling some community presentations in other communities in DeWitt County.
Sure. What's a meeting going to look like? I mean, is there going to be a specific format to it? What's it going to look like?
I think the consultants will be coming into town, and they will actually present the needs assessment through a PowerPoint presentation. And then we will have leaders from both our organizations and the community there to talk about answer any questions. And again, kind of keep this as that living document of what folks can expect.
Gotcha. Very good. Very good. So that comes up on May the 5th, you said. Will there be more events like this, Sharon or Mary, from your perspective?
Yes, we will be doing additional presentations. They won't be by the consultant, but by Heritage and the Mental Health Board working together to extend that information shared through that presentation.
Sure. I feel like I'm missing something here, ladies. Did we not get to a piece of this that you wanted to, or a conversation point that we've overlooked?
I wanted to share that from Heritage's lens, we also need to submit this needs assessment to the state of Illinois, who supports our work through grants and through Medicaid and Medicare. So they're going to have an understanding of what the needs are, and then they can continue to invest in us as well. And when we talk about this being for the community, it allows us that collaboration to say, what are folks doing? Oh, maybe we could use our resources in a different way. And how do we make that happen? So that continued communication is going to be incredibly important throughout the next 3 years.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, in the break, we also got to, now that Heritage and the 708 board are kind of on the same assessments cycle, how beneficial is that going to be from each of your perspectives? Sharon, I'll start with you.
Well, having done this kind of work throughout my career, it's incredibly intensive to pull something together like this. So just having that outside support has been a game changer for the 708 board this year, in terms of having a group helping to guide that process, capturing the data, archiving it, making the report. So I'm looking forward to continuing to work with an external group and Heritage on this in the future. I do want to say that the health department also is required to do a strategic plan or an assessment process, I believe every 3 years as well. We're not quite on the same schedule, but certainly we're utilizing that kind of information too, because no one assessment is going to capture absolutely everything. And certainly this assessment doesn't cover all of the public health aspects, for instance, that the health department plan would cover.
Sure. Mary, how about from your perspective on that?
I think from Heritage's perspective, it's has allowed us to get more into the community here in Clinton and in DeWitt County. I mean, I'm not a resident here. I live in Decatur. We have such great stakeholders here, but we know you can't just come into a community and say, here, we're going to go do this, and you should come see, I have our services. We need to build that trust with the communities and in our rural areas. And so that's been truly invaluable on our part. And we hope that that continues, because we know people need to trust us before they're going to come access services.
I've got 1 minute, ladies. Any final thoughts we want to put out there before we wrap up for the day, Mary?
I think it's, I just want to really champion that help is here, access to care is here. It can seem complicated. You might not know what to ask, but if you present here in Clinton to Heritage's office on Sunrise Court, if you call in, whatever that looks like, we will help navigate that for you. And we are here to serve the entire community.
Sure. Sharon, how about you? Final thoughts?
I guess I'd give a big shout out to all the health and human service providers serving DeWitt County. Although there may be needs, there may be barriers to address. We may need to continue to work on collaborating with one another. I think we generally do a tremendous job of working together to try to improve health and wellness in the community.
Very good. Well said, ladies. Thank you for your time very much. Sharon Mills and Mary Garrison with us this morning. Network news on the way.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, along with 92.3 FM Clinton and 106.